What's up guys, macadii here, and today guys, week 3 of the GPC League, where we are up against King Bub, coach of the Munchlaxster United. So if you guys are excited, don't forget to leave a like down below. I would really appreciate it. Now, unfortunately, King Bub did have to step down for this match. I think he's got personal problems and stuff like that. So he's just taking a bit of a break from the GPC, and he's managed to get a replacement coach in the name of Gypsy King. So this was the guy that I actually ended up battling. I must admit, when that happened, I didn't know, I've never heard of Gypsy King before, so I sort of asked around and stuff like that, and apparently he is a bit of like a god in the lead format. He's something like 60 wins and 4 losses, so I knew this was going to be a very tricky match from the start. So I tried my best to sort of prep as much as possible to get, you know, some interesting sets going and seeing hopefully if we can break through his team. But we're going to run through what he could potentially be bringing, what we're going to be bringing, and then finally go into the match from there. So he's got Mega Aerodactyl, Gengar, Espeon, Kyurem-Black, Vaporeon, Hitmontop, Gliscor, Eelektross, Ferrothorn, and Munchlax. So a very spooky squad. Quite a few things to note. So a few things to note is like Mega Aerodactyl is particularly scary for our team, just because it obviously outspeeds everything. We need to try and, you know, we might have to potentially find, you know, a Scarfer or something like that. We've got some defensive checks, like Rotom Wash is a, you know, a decent defensive check, and also Fortress outside of Fire Fang. So you know, that one's going to be a little bit iffy about whether in terms of, you know, trying to take that guy on. The other one as well is Kyurem-Black. Kyurem-Black is just always is very terrifying. We do have one kind of check in the form of Fortress, but it's still not the perfect check, so we still don't do as much as you might expect to it. Gliscor as well. Gliscor is going to be a interesting guy. He's always very underrated, I think, in my opinion. Like the poison heal is so good, and also with that bulk as well, it can be a very tricky mon to try and beat. Especially when you pair it with things like Vaporeon, which, you know, obviously makes things like Electro a little bit tricky, because you're trying to beat both a Vaporeon and a Gliscor. I guess you could have like Wild Charge and Ice Punch, but still, it was just a difficult matchup in general to try and, you know, get the right team together. But what we've got is Landorus Ice. So Landorus I decided was going to be our win con. This guy has got the Earth Power, Rock Slide, Him Power, Ice, and Rock Polish. So Earth Power allows us to hit the Espeon hard, the Kyurem-Black pretty hard, though Rock Slide probably will do a little bit more. The Vaporeon, unless it's a sort of super duper specially defensive set. But we can also hit the Hitmontop and also the Ferrothorn very hard. He has a lot of levitators, that's the only thing, which is why I've got to pack this coverage. So obviously Mega Aerodactyl, Gengar, Gliscor, Eelektross, all of those guys are all in the air, so that makes life a little bit harder, which is why we've got the Rock Slide on there. So that allows us to hit Mega Aerodactyl, it allows us to hit Gengar, and then the Hidden Power, and also the Eelektross, I guess, and the Hidden Power Ice allows us to hit the Gliscor very hard. It took me a while to try and work out whether to try and have HP Fire for Ferrothorn or go for HP Ice with Gliscor. And overall, I decided HP Ice was probably the best way to go, just because it allows me to handle that Gliscor. Earth Power is still going to do a decent amount to that Ferrothorn, because we are max special attack with the Life Orb, so hopefully, you know, that will work out from there. Next up, we've got the Fortress. I brought a specially defensive set with the Ockerberry with a Impish Nature, which I realized later on was a bit of a mistake. I should have put a negative Speed Nature, but that was just a mistake on my part, so we're going to keep it in the Team Builder with the Ockerberry. So that allows me to basically switch into a Kyurem-Black guaranteed, because outside of HP Fire, which obviously I can eat up with the Ockerberry, I can switch into it if I need to. That was meant to be 248. I don't know why that's doing that. It was meant that was the exact spread. There you go. Okay, so we've got Stealth Rock on there, because Stealth Rock allows, you know, wears down the Kyurem-Black, wears down his team in general, the Mega Aerodactyl, which is really nice. It also means with the Ockerberry, I could potentially, it's another check for Mega Aerodactyl as well. If that thing's packing Fire Fang, goes to Fire Fang, I can then eat that up with the Ockerberry, go for the Gyro Ball, and then kill it off from there. So hopefully Fortress might be able to do a little bit of work for this. And obviously the Rapid Spin allows me to get rid of rocks on my side and all of that good stuff. Next we've got the Houndoom, which is a sort of mix set. So we've got a big problem in the form of Gengar. Gengar and also the Espeon can sort of do a lot of damage. Like Psychic types are very spooky to a lot of my team, so I need to make sure I do find checks that obviously, like Dragouge, it can hit hard if they've got Shadow Ball, which the Gengar does. It can hit my Latios hard. So I decided that this was probably the best set to go, because this allows me to Pursuit Trap or even beat 1v1. I have to, play some Pursuit Mind games, basically, between the Gengar and the Espeon, but hopefully this set should be able to handle them. The Sucker Punch means I get my Mega off guaranteed with those guys, so I can then outspeed them, so that's really, really nice. And Dark Pulse and Flamethrower hits the rest of his team relatively hard. If it's especially defensive Gliscor, I have trouble, and obviously the Vaporeon as well, if it's a specially defensive set, could also take me on from there. We've also got a Assault Vest Gouge, so this guy is designed to be able to switch into Gengar, what else, the Vaporeon, the Hitmontop to an extent, and also the Eelektross and the Ferrothorn as well, so it switches into a lot of different things, which is pretty sweet. We've got the Dragon Pulse, Sludge Wave, and Himpower Fire, which hits everything very, very hard. Like, Ferrothorn's the only one that resists both these combinations, and obviously it's going to get blown back by a HP Fire from there, and then we can drop a Draco as well if we want to get some extra damage off on something else. Next we got the Latios. Now originally I thought going for like 3 attacks with Defog or Roost, probably Roost from there, but my problem is it speed ties with the Gengar, it speed ties with Espeon, Mega Aerodactyl outspeeds and can Pursuit Trap me, so overall it was just not looking too good, and if I had to run HP Fire, otherwise the Ferrothorn will ball me, and if I do that, then I get 30 in my Speed IV, so then I guaranteed get outsped by the Gengar and Espeon, so overall it just didn't look too good, so I had a think, and I found a way that could potentially work. This was a substitute Calm mindset, so this is designed to sub up on things like the Vaporeon or the Hitmontop, or even the Eelektross as well, outside of maybe like a knockoff on Eelektross or something like that. And let's see, that actually has gone a bit funny. That was meant to be Hidden Power Fire. I don't know, for some reason it seems to have reverted back. I don't know. Showdown's being weird, but we've got Dragon Pulse, HP Fire, Substitute, and Calm Mind. So with this spread, I am guaranteed to take a Scarf Dragon Claw from Kyurem-Black from full, which is pretty cool if I remember rightly. I can also, with this spread, guaranteed at +1 get a sub up against a Vaporeon, so I can actually set up on Vaporeon, which is pretty cool. And the 12 in speed allows me to speed creep. I think it's the let me try and remember now. I think it's he's got a big, yeah, that's it, he's got a big speed gap between Kyurem-Black and Eelektross, where most of those are going to be sort of bulkier sets. They're not going to have that much speed investment, so if I'm planning not to outspeed Kyurem-Black, then I can put, don't have to put that much speed in. I'm going to try and bluff in the game. That was kind of the plan, was to try and bluff in the game that I was going to be able to outspeed the Kyurem-Black so I can sub up and do all of that stuff. Dragon Pulse plus Hidden Power Fire hits everything neutrally or super effectively. Obviously the Ferrothorn's going to get blown back from that. So that's the kind of plan, is like late game try and set up or find an opportunity to set up and hopefully start sweeping from there. Next, we've got the Rotom. So the Rotom is a slightly weird set as well. We've got a dual screens Rotom. This is because I wasn't too sure what else to bring, and his offense is like so prevalent against my team that I needed some way to try and stop it, or at least try and reduce it. So I decided this way was going to be good, so I can set up Light Screen and Reflect, I can pivot out, hit things hard with Hydro Pumps and Volt Switches. So that was kind of the plan for the team. So what we're going to do now is go into the battle, and you can see exactly what happened from there. Okay, so we are at the battle, and as you can see, he's got the Gliscor, Vaporeon, Ferrothorn, Gengar, Kyurem-Black, and also the Aerodactyl. So all of them the really big threats I was worried about. So there I looked at this and I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a tricky battle. So I decided overall, my Fortress was my best lead. I could set up rocks if I want to, see what he's just going to basically do from there. If he leads off Mega Aerodactyl to get the Mega off, I can potentially get the kill from there, or get some good damage off on the Gengar. So that's what I decided to do. So I led off with the Fortress as he leads off with Kyurem-Black. Now, these first few turns are really, really important. So he reveals the HP Fire here, I eat up my Occa Berry, and I can go for the Gyro Ball here. Now, that did a really good amount of damage, and I looked at the Calcs and tried to work out what was going on, because according to the Calcs, if he was non-Scarf, I would do a maximum of 38%. So I was like, okay, that's reasonable. What if I put in that he's Scarf? And it does say it can be like, it was like 40 to 45, or something along those sorts of lines. So I was like, oh, okay. So that indicates to me, because of the damage calc, that he must be Scarf, because otherwise there's no physical way with a 0 attack Fortress that a Gyro Ball will be doing that amount. So I was like, okay, no, that's fine. So I can switch out here and I can go into my Dragouge and, just to see what he's going to do. So I switch out here and go into Dragouge, and he pulls a sub. And I was the most confused person at this point. I was like, what is going on? Like, is he like 0 defense, 0 HP, or something like that, because there's literally no physical way that even if he's max speed with no defense investment, or even negative defense nature with no HP investment, that my Gyro Ball will be doing 41%. So later on in the game, I did have a look at it, and we finally worked out that in the Showdown Calcs, it didn't factor in the 0 IVs in speed for Gyro Ball, and that's what happened. So that was pretty huge. So he starts off behind a sub, and I've basically got to try and break this sub from here. So I do go for the Dragon Pulse here and to bring down the Kyurem. So that's really, really nice. But this is going to be at the cost of my Gouge, as I'm able to fire off another Dragon Pulse, break his sub again, and he does prop his Salac Berry. So that's going to be very, very spooky. I do have Sucker Punch and Doom, and I literally, this is the only thing I could do, was just a Sucker Punch there. It was the most obvious thing, but unfortunately, that was my best shot. So he does go into Vaporeon, but Tom passes out into the Gliscor. At this point, I was like, okay, I can set up my dual screens. If he does knock me off, it's not the worst thing in the world. I can set up my screens and try and get this Latios sweep. So I go for the Volt Switch here. Out comes the Ferrothorn. And I'm going to go out into my Fortress, because this allows me to spin away whatever he wants to. If he wants to go for the Leech Seed here, I can spin it away. And I can also set up my rocks. So I go for the Stealth Rocks here, as he sets up his own rocks. So I want to try and get rid of these. I am aware that I'm kind of wasting my screens here, but I've still got my Rotom at a good amount of HP. So I can set those up again if I want to. So I switch out here, go into my Houndoom as he goes for Gyro Ball, and I take a good amount of damage from that. Now I try and pull a double into my Latios, expecting him to go out into his Vaporeon, and he does sack off the Kyurem-B. So at least the Kyurem-B is out the way. That makes my life a little bit easier. Out comes the Gliscor here. If I had the Ice Beam here, I would be good to go, but unfortunately I don't. So I have to switch out here, and as he goes for the knockoff, and my Rotom is able to set up my screens again. Out comes the Ferrothorn. I know this Ferrothorn is going to be a real pain. So I switch straight out into Houndoom here, as he does go for that Leech Seed. So here I've got the option. I can stay in if I want to, or I could try and do another double and basically hopefully get rid of rocks and bring my Houndoom in one more time. So here I decide just to go for that Dark Pulse, doing a good amount to that Vaporeon, but I do go down from here. So at this point here I was like, right, this is my chance. I can go into my Latios and do all the setup. But then, this was the point when I realized my Fortress what was going on. So I went back and checked the stuff, and it turned out as well that Showdown had messed up my Latios' EV. So it was like 248 in speed, and I think the rest was in HP, and that was basically it. So all of my special defense investment and also my defense investment was gone. So that meant that if this was a Vaporeon with Ice Beam, I was not able to reliably set up on this. So I was like, okay, that's not good news. Everything that could go wrong seems to be going wrong here. I'm going to have to give this a go anyway. So I go for the Calm Mind here, as he reveals that he's Scarf. So that is absolutely fantastic prep on my opponent's part. No, sorry, apologies. I go for the Substitute here. So he goes for the Ice Beam, doing a really good amount of damage. I pull off a sub here, and at this point, I'm like, oh, that's not good. So he goes for another Ice Beam and is able to break my sub, as I'm unable to kill him off with a Dragon Pulse. So I switch out here, go into my Fortress, because I know I can take that Ice Beam on. But that was unfortunate. Out comes the Ferrothorn here, as I just go for a Gyro Ball, just to see what's going to come in, because I kind of want to sack my Fortress off and try and weaken this Ferrothorn as much as possible. So my next plan of action is to try and beat this Lando Eye. So I go for Rapid Spin here, let myself go down to Iron Barb's damage as he goes for the Leech Seed. So that's a real pain. This Ferrothorn's healing itself back up. I'm just going to keep going for Rapid Spins here, let him basically take me out from here, but he does not. So I'm just going to bring myself down again and get rid of those rocks as I go down here. And oh no, so apology, yeah, I go for the Rapid Spin here, but I die, so I don't manage to get rid of the rocks. So I can go for the Rock Polish here. He goes to the Gyro Ball. I was like, okay, I've got a good chance to kill. It depends on the spread of this Ferrothorn, and I've got HP Ice for this guy, I've got Rock Slide for this guy. Gengar might be a little bit iffy, but then I've got the chance to flinch, so I can still pull this back. Like, if I can kill this Ferrothorn, I might be able to sweep here, but unfortunately I'm not able to kill him, and he is able to drop me down from here. So at this point here, I'm out into my Latios. There's not much I can do. I decide to go for Calm Mind. Now, this might sound a little bit weird, but just in case he wanted to preserve his Ferrothorn and switch out into something else, at least then I might be able to get some damage off on it or do something like that. It also means I can get another kill for Rotom for the MVP race, because Rotom's currently working his way up. So I figured, we'll get the kill for Rotom and we'll be a bit cheeky and see if we can Calm Mind up. Because with that extra speed investment, we might be able to outspeed that Gliscor and get some good damage off from there. But unfortunately, that does not happen. And as you can see, we're going to go down because we're able to take out the Ferrothorn. So it's going to be a 4-0, which is really, really unfortunate. The sub on the Kyurem just... yeah, there were a couple of things that sort of lined up, but still, it was fantastic prep on Gypsy's part. Absolutely crazy sets, like the Scarf on the Vaporeon completely blew me back, because, you know, any other set, and I might have a good chance of setting up on it, but that Scarf set just completely threw me from there. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy the battle. We're still 2-1, so we still got a good chance. Transactions are coming up as well, so we will be doing a transactions video tomorrow, because spoiler alert, I have done some transactions. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, and I will see you guys at the next one. Macadii out.